Yeah, are you seeing people, you dating, you're in a relationship?
Hi, my name is Olinda. I'm 33. I'm
Mm.
a physiotherapist and I currently work as a functional specialist remotely. For me, I'm a migrant. I've been in the UK about 4 years, and meeting men is not the problem. It's
Okay.
getting it to stick,
The
the
men
commitment.
flock to you.
Maybe not flock,
Mhm.
but there's that one, two persons would show interest in you. However, it's sort of difficult to say maybe in the terms of values where it doesn't align or they're just not on the same page with you. And I think that with age, there's also that cynicism where everyone's really cautious about jumping into relationships with people. We're overthinking things. We're, cooking up scenarios in our heads. And cooking up scenarios in your head is not too far-fetched because when you see all of the stories on social media, they're really not far-fetched. So it's not the difficulty in meeting suitable partners. It's the lack of commitment that you get from them, or some of them, they probably have partners somewhere and they're just looking for a quick time.
The guys that you're meeting, where are they usually from?
Oh, I think most of them are also fellow migrant like me. Because of the circle that I also find myself in, you tend to sort of like bond with people from your background. And I find myself being approached by men that are also migrants from Nigeria. I met somebody recently. It was one of my friends who had introduced the guy to me, and then he had reached out. We'd like hung out a few times, but the issue that I had was about values. I'm somebody that likes to study people, get to know you, be friends with you before you start thinking of commitment. Because I feel like people just go from meeting somebody straight into the relationship part where they don't spend time getting to know the person. And then at the end of the day,
Is that common?
I think so with people, because you just hear somebody say, "Oh, we dated for 3 months and then we broke up." In that 3 months, I'm still getting to know you. So it's not even going to get to the point where I'm going to be like, "Oh, we're in a relationship and then we broke up." In the first 2 weeks where you meet somebody, you should be able to tell if this is somebody that you want to commit to or spend more time with. Now, the commitment is not saying get married, but if I'm going to spend 3 months of my life trying to get to know you, that's some kind of commitment, because I could be anywhere, like you said, talking to anybody. But if I decide that I want to spend time getting to know this person, finding out what they like, their dislike, it should happen in the 3 months where some people are supposedly resumed or jumped into a proper relationship. So I met this person, and as much as I sort of like an extrovert, I feel like it was really that much of an extrovert. And
He was.
yes, and I would
He
think
was
he was.
more extroverted than you.
Yes, and it
And
was,
that was a problem.
yes, and it was a little bit too forward.
Define forward.
There was a time that I went swimming, and I usually go swimming midweek with my friend. And, during the period of talking to him and getting to know him, I was like, "Oh, he's a really good swimmer. He swims." And I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I usually go every week with my friend to swim at the leisure center. So if you're interested, I'll just get you a ticket and then we can go swim together." And then after the swimming, he said, "Oh, you know what? We could just go out and have some drinks." I was like, "Oh, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go home and change and I'll be back." And then it proceeded to follow me to my apartment. And I'm like, I assumed you don't really know me. I would expect that you maybe ask or wait in the car or a couple more dates before you decide that you want to come to my apartment, because I was leaving the house to go swim and I did not think that I was going to be coming back with anybody. I don't have an issue with you being in my apartment, but I would have expected that you'd take more time to get to know the person before you come into their personal space. So I found that a bit forward.
Give me the details of
Oh, and
the lay of
then,
the land.
I think I just let that slide. Obviously, I had that conversation with my friend that went swimming with to say, "Oh, you know what? Look what happened. And this person is coming to my flat uninvited." And she was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah, I can't believe it." Because, I tried to be subtle about saying, "Oh, you could wait for me in the car. I'll be down quickly." But he was like, "Oh, no, that's no problem. I'll just come with you." I was like, "Oh, okay. Okay." And then it wasn't just the one, this person calls you, "Oh, what are you doing? I'm not working today. Let's go out." And I look at the time, it's 11 p.m. on a weekday. I want to sleep. I don't want to go bar hopping. I'm not in my early 20s. I don't have the energy to just jump out of bed, dress up, go back up in with some man when I have work the next morning. I would expect, some consideration when you're making such plans because you just call me out of the blues and say, oh, I'm somewhere down the road because I mentioned that I live in city center and I know where my house is located. It's very central. There's a lot of bars and clubs on the road. And you just called me at 11 asking me, oh, I'll pay for your Uber, just
And this
don't.
was a Nigerian guy.
Yeah, he is a Nigerian guy because there's a very active social life in Nigeria. I am social. I like to go to parties, events, but at 11, unplanned,
It sounds like you're quite, say, conservative, for lack of a better phrase.
I could be conservative. I think that's the right word because I don't have issues with going to the bar or clubs if it was planned. But I have a problem with somebody that you're trying to get to know because if you're trying to get to know me, is the bar the right place to? I don't
That's where
know.
most people go to get to know people nowadays.
I know, but it's
In the
just
UK.
always so noisy there. You can barely hear each other over the loud music
So
and other people talking.
this is what I'm saying. So it sounds like my family, my mum's side of the family, they're all Christian, Seventh-day Adventists.
Okay.
And as a result, the upbringing is like very strict, quite formal, and very, let's say, proper. Things are done correctly. So if everything you said to me just now, if you was to say that to my cousins or my aunties, they'd be, yes, nodding and smiling, right? What I'll try to get at is, it sounds like you want things to be done in a proper way. So you must have seen TV shows where there's things going on in the West and you see people partying here, drinking here, having sex there, hookup culture. I'm sure you've heard of that, right? Hookup
Yes.
culture, where people are just having 1 and 2 dates and then they sleep with this person and then that person, things like this. And it sounds like you want none of that whatsoever. You said that he called you at like 11 o'clock and said, I'll come over or you come over. What I'm thinking is, number one, you want it to be like kind of planned where it's, what are you doing on Saturday? And I'm going to take you out on Saturday. Makes you feel a bit special. There you go. That's why you're smiling, right? And he's put some thought and effort. But also, here's something else. I think you didn't like the fact that it sounded like you wanted a booticle.
It wasn't even just about the sound. I think maybe a few weeks down the line, or maybe about 2 months, obviously he saw that it didn't look like whatever it is that we had was going anywhere. And he had texted me to say, oh, I've been trying to get to know you and things like that. However, I don't feel like this is going anywhere. And then he persists to ask me, are you straight? Are you gay? And I'm like, the fact that I'm not rushing into a relationship with you does not mean that I'm gay. I'm just really cautious because it gets to a point where you've heard so many things about how people just rush into things with other people and then you find out that the person is probably married or has like a partner somewhere. I like to be cautious. As much as I may be conservative, it's about being cautious because I've traveled quite a lot. If you've been to Europe during some other part of the world, you see that there's, that's not life, that, social thing going on where you have the opportunity to meet people. Maybe when I was younger, I had my fair share of adventure, just partying all night and things like that. But right now, if you're looking for commitment, I'm not sure that's the right place to find it. For some people, it could work, but for me, that's not. I like to sort of like be in control of like the situation because when you party too hard, you've drank so much, it clouds your judgment. And then you could meet somebody that's just not it, but because you're not thinking right, you just go with it, and then in 2 months, it's over.
Where do you go, or either online or offline, to meet these men? Where are you meeting men normally?
I do a lot of evening walks. I'm attending weddings, baby showers.
So you're just meeting men in real life.
Yes,
So you'll go to a baby shower and then meet a man at the baby shower.
maybe not necessarily because if you have a friend that has like maybe the husband's friends or the partner's friends, I go to concerts. I like art. I take evening walks. I've been so scared to join like a dating app because
Scared.
I know.
Scared.
I know because that's the thing. Because I
What's
feel like
scary
you're
about a
just.
dating app?
That's the thing because I feel like it leaves you very, very vulnerable where you're just talking to several other people and it feels like you're auditioning for male attention.
Okay, auditioning for male attention. Do you feel like the man on the app is in a position of strength like this? And it's have you ever seen Coming to America?
Oh, yes, I have.
Okay, great. There's a scene in Coming to America when you know the Miss Black Awareness contest, yeah,
Where
and then they
they
got
were
all of the
pretty,
women in
yeah.
bikinis lined up, and it's like, which one do you want, or
And there was
who's
that
going to
one
be
that
the
was
winner?
doing the dug up. There was the one that was doing the oop, oop.
Yes, but that was at the start of the film when he turns 21.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that was it, the woman he was meant to marry. But then when he lands in Queens,
Oh,
he goes to the
yeah.
Miss Black Awareness pageant. Miss Black Awareness, I feel good. I feel good. God knows a God somewhere.
How many times have you seen that
Yeah,
movie?
like 55,000. But anyway, the point is, so there's all these women in bikinis, all these sexy women in bikinis, and it's like, which one do you want? So when you say auditioning for male attention, do you feel like if you're on a dating app, you're there lined up with other women, basically wearing no clothes or next to nothing, for some man to sit down and go, no, 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 make her turn around, maybe, maybe, okay, no, no, no. Is that how you feel?
Because they ask you to put like 5 pictures of you, and then they just go through it. Swipe, left, right. I think that's how it works. So swipe. Yeah.
But like the men have to upload their own pictures too.
Oh, they do.
It's
But
not
we
it's not just
know
you.
that if you're looking at, a real life picture of how things have been in terms of like relationship or getting into one, men have always had like the upper hand where they sort of like, I mean, you can decide to be with a man when he approaches you, but then it's like we leave the work to the men to do the approaching, because I've seen how some women have approached men first and it didn't turn out okay.
Let's say, I mean, I know you never do this, but let's say one day your friend drags you out to a club and you're like, okay, fine, I'm going to go to the club. And you're there and you're wearing your outfit and you're trying to have a good time in the club. You're trying, Anyway, so you're there and I'm there. So it's a parallel universe. We haven't actually had this conversation before. And I see you, I'm like, gosh, she looks good. And I want to go and speak to you. Do you believe then that in that scenario, I have more power than you because I'm the one in control of the situation?
Maybe not more power, but the dynamics is sort of like tilted more towards you because you're the one doing the approaching. And to be fair, if you list out a group of 10 people and partners, and you ask who made the first move, I am not sure what the statistics are, but I would want to say 7 out of 10, it was the guy that made the first
I will
move.
say 9.9 times out of 10.
I was just trying to not be.
But you see, this is where we disagree. So, yes, the man's the one who does the approach. But that man who approached the woman that he eventually ended up marrying. So there's an assumption I think you're making, which is that he's approaching women and he's doing it with pure confidence, number one. And number two, he's doing it with a lot of success as well. So it's like, let's say he approaches 4 women, 3 of them want to get to know him. But from what I have seen, especially my time doing all things like this, it's like that man approaches 10 women, it goes nowhere with 9 of them. And most of those 9 are actually quite cold of him as well. Like, I'm sure you've been with your friends. You must have had this happen. You're with your friends, right? And you're out at the club and you got your outfit on and your heels and you're feeling good. You're feeling good. And then some man walks up to you and your friends, and then what do? Go away. Cold. Right? Treat the man like he doesn't exist or matter. Yeah.
I get what you mean about, the power dynamics still sitting with the woman, because at the end of the day, it's about your yes and that determines how the relationship progresses. But if I'm in a club and you've done like a scan of like the people there, and then there was somebody approaching you, you do a quick scan before you say go, go, go. You're doing a quick scan to see, is this person worth my time? And if the person isn't, I mean, not just to like the go, 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 but obviously it's not going to make much progress in that aspect. But there's just that dynamics about the guy doing the approaching, if you get what I mean. I mean, that women that will approach other men, I still think that there's that dynamic where the man does the approaching. And 9 out of 10, it just needs the one yes. It doesn't need 9. the direction of our conversation today was going to go different, because I've looked through your page and I see the way people like answer the questions that you ask. And
How did people answer questions that I asked?
so because I'm not sure what the age group of your
Listeners?
yes
Viewers?
yes I'm not sure what the age range is, but sometimes I think that like people maybe not from backgrounds that are very conservative, where their views about sex, relationship, and things like that are not as liberal. Yeah, so I think that maybe the direction that I'm not sure what I'm not sure what your thought process was when I volunteered to come on the show, but I would say that I've seen people be more vocal, being open to meeting people, they maybe not throw caution to the wind, but they're willing to try new things. They're willing to,
Can I ask a question?
yeah, sure.
Have you said that because you think I'm disappointed?
Oh, no, not disappointed, I promise you. I'm just thinking that, sometimes maybe we have like a, conceived notion of how maybe I meet somebody in the first instance and I just do like a quick scan and I make assumptions of the person. And then during the course of getting to know them, you see that they're probably nothing like each other, because it's even good dynamic, because if you have viewers that tend to tilt a certain way where they're talking about things like this, it'll be nice once in a while to have somebody that doesn't hold, the same view as you would expect. So I don't think it's about disappointment. You couldn't be disappointed in me, no?
Yeah, that's what we want to hear. That's right.
No.
That's right. Here we go.
No, yeah. No, that's not my thought at all. I'm just thinking that maybe you're like, okay, this is interesting. This person is not willing to put themselves out there, be vulnerable, but then she's here complaining about how difficult it is to meet men. But there's some of us that still think that, things should happen traditionally.
To be honest with you, most women I speak to prefer to meet men traditionally.
Yeah.
So it's relatively rare to meet a woman who isn't complaining about dating apps. Like they've all used them, but they all complain as well. So most women do prefer, but then at the same time, so there's this weird thing like in the West. So are you aware of like conversations around things like the Me Too movement and whatnot?
Oh no, I am.
Okay. So the Me Too movement was a movement that happened like 10 years ago or so. And it was all based on the idea that women were standing up and putting their feet down and calling out men for being sleazy and predatory. Let's say maybe a man is in a bar and he touches you on your butt and you don't want him to do it, or a man's on a date with you and he does X, Y, and Z and things like that. And there's a lot of discourse in Western society around the idea that if a man approaches a woman, it's a bad thing. There's a lot of discourse about that. So you will see tons of Western women like they're from England or America or wherever complaining about they're in the gym and a man's looked at them, or they're in the gym and a man's spoken to them in one way or another and things like this. So there's tons of guys today that are terrified of doing that approach. Like for instance, I was talking to a guy on Saturday. And he hasn't had a date in a long time. But the thing is this, he's scared to put himself out because he doesn't want to be perceived as being creepy. But in order to get a date, like in terms of like asking women out or even maybe to like kiss the woman on the date or whatever it is, in order for that to happen, he has to make a move. He has to walk up and say, hello, do you like the look of me? He has to lean in for that kiss at some point, otherwise they're not going to kiss. And he can't do it because he's terrified. He doesn't want to make a woman feel uncomfortable. So there's this thing where he wants the connection, but at the same time doesn't want the negative downsides of trying to create that connection, which is like potentially being vilified on social media or things like this. So there's a lot of men that are terrified of doing that, which I don't know if you're being approached as often as you'd like, but if you're not, that's probably a reason why. There's lots of men that are freaking terrified. I'm 43.
Oh, you really?
Thank you. I was hoping for that response. Thank you.
Really?
Thank you.
I would have thought maybe in your mid to late 30s.
Okay, I was hoping to say early 30s.
Yeah. And I totally understand that, because like I said, the world has changed so much that you don't know what it is that you could do to get on somebody's bad side. And for like the guy that I was talking about, I'm sure in his mind it was feeling like, oh, I need to like push, make the move, try to, get to know her, not be too cautious. But with me, I felt like that was too forward. And in another sense, another lady would have found that really, nice. She may even like you, like, oh, this person is trying to get to know me, is trying to come into my space, is being spontaneous by calling me, you know what, let's go back up in on a Wednesday night. And to be fair, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's just something that's not working for me because that's not who or how I am. And I was just hoping that maybe if we spent more time together, you would realize that that kind of approach doesn't work with me.
Are you doing things to meet a specific sort of person? What I mean is this. So like, let's say you want a job, right? So you're a physio and I guess you work for a company.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You had to create a CV that was tailored to the sort of job that you wanted. Then you had to go to places that had physiotherapy jobs and things like this. So in order to get the job, you tailor the CV so that people would look at the CV and go, this woman would be a perfect physiotherapist. Oh my God, look at all of her experience and things like this. And my question is, are you doing anything similar to this in a dating sense? Because something that I have found is that dating isn't actually that dissimilar from like job hunting. So like, for instance, speaking about dating apps, my dating app profile is configured to attract certain types of women. It's like, let's say if you're going to go fishing, you ever been fishing?
No.
Me neither. Me neither.
No, I haven't
Me
been.
neither. But it's like there's a certain sort of fish you want to catch, and then you got the bait which is on the hook, and then you use the bait to attract that fish, and then you reel the fish in. Dating profiles like that, but dating in and of itself is kind of like that too. So something I've noticed a lot of people do is they have a sort of person that they want, but they don't really think about how to attract that sort of person. So like for you, that might be, for instance, going to meetups where they speak about philosophy or religion. Do those things interest you?
I like art. I like photography, music.
There you go.
Maybe not philosophy.
It was just a stab in the dark.
I know, but like if I met somebody that is like into stuff like that, they might also be too deep and lose the element of spontaneity.
I mean, that's for you to figure out on your own. My basic point is there's a certain sort of man that you want to meet. And whatever the criteria is that's important to you, what's a quality that's really important to you in a man?
I think it's a character.
Okay.
That's,
So then you
that's
go like this. Character, but define character. What does that mean?
It's just somebody that appears, well put together, looks like, they know what they're doing. Just maybe not calm, but, somebody that, just looks like, there's just a look to somebody that you would assume with good character. Now, I don't want to come from a physical appearance kind of situation because, how there's this stereotype of, men with maybe like dreads and a lot of tattoos are in quote, the way they look at them. So I think that for me, apart from like looking at somebody just physically to see if I'm attracted to you, I just need to see that you're sort of like put together in a way that you're not just like all over the place. Like when you see somebody that just, you exude like that confidence that, they just look like they have a good character.
I feel like when you say character, that's like an umbrella term for a lot of different qualities that you're finding hard to bring up in the moment, which makes sense because I've just put you on the spot. But my basic point is this. So like you'd figure out like, okay, so what are these things that I'm describing as character, right? So it's like, oh, he's got good teeth. Okay, great. And then you just like list it all down, right? And like he dresses well. Okay, so what does it mean that he dresses well? This, and this. Okay. He's thoughtful. Anyway, you just list it all. And then you'd be like, all right, so where are men like that? Where am I likely to meet men like that, either online or offline? And then strategically put yourself in those places because you know who does this perfectly? Gold diggers. Because what
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, because you see all that stuff about, if you want to meet rich men, then they give you a list of places that you...
Exactly.
Ooh, I haven't even really thought about that because I'm just I feel like I'm just waiting for things to happen naturally and you need to,
You got to grab it by the balls.
Yeah, I agree.
Or got to grab him by the balls even.
Maybe this conversation was good because then... Maybe I won't.
Is this free therapy?
Oh yeah, I agree because that maybe I won't be too anxious to put myself out there because to be fair, I feel like men with good character are all over the place. But like with all the constraints that we've just discussed, even if he had good character and he saw you on the road, he wouldn't want to be a creep by just coming to be like, oh hi, I find it really attractive because I'm like, from where, But then I also think that we also need to sort of like let our defenses down. Maybe just a tiny, just a tiny, yeah, just a tiny little bit, because there's I think that I've been out and you've seen men that you find yourself attracted to, but you don't know if they're in relationships or whatever, but you can just tell that there's that hesitation. But if I do find a man that I think that I like and I'm attracted to, and we're in the same space, I'm not scared to do the approaching, because obviously I'm not going to, come on and be like, come on too strong to say, oh, it's just maybe an hello there to just sort of like, shake the waters and make him a bit
To
more
dip your
comfortable.
toe in the
Yeah.
water, yeah.
And make him feel a bit more comfortable to see that, oh, okay, I think this is somebody that I would potentially want to talk to. So sometimes I'm not saying that we should leave all the decision to men to decide if they want to approach us or not. We also have, like, as women, we also have like a part to play in making the chase a little bit, easier for them. I mean, the world is already hard enough for everyone. The world change would also include the migration that I've spoken about, because when I look at my circle of friends and I look back at the pool in Nigeria, you see that most of us have traveled to the West. The one that isn't in the UK is probably in Canada or in America. And everyone's complaining about the same thing, because the pool has gotten smaller. Because back home, if you went to a club, minimum 3 men are going to walk up to you, and Nigerian men are so audacious. They do not care. They're going to walk up to you and be like, oh, hi.
So is that back in the day or is that today?
No, even because I haven't been back home in like 4 years, I don't know what the scene is like. But I promise you that when I was back home and I went out with my friends, you would see one man approach you.
But
It
that
doesn't matter.
happen here. This is what I mean.
Yeah, because and I think when you look at the population too, there's so much diversity, especially like here in Birmingham, and the ratio of black men to black women, and I feel like black men are also more exploratory in the sense that they don't mind being with women from other races. So the pool is
How does that?
really
How do you feel
small.
about that?
To be honest, and I'm like, everyone should do whatever works for them. I don't feel any type of way. If you like somebody, by all means. I would only have a problem with that kind of situation if you are taking advantage of the other person.
People who volunteer. A man who volunteers, you know what I mean by volunteering? Yeah, like Greenpeace or something, or some like animal shelter or feeding the homeless. I'm being very serious. I'm not joking at all. I think men who do things like that, probably. Or like some sort of personal development seminars. Like men who are working on themselves. And you go to a meetup once a week where, I don't know, you're speaking about business or something like this, or overcoming trauma or meditation, things like that.
Yeah, thinking about situations like that is like talking about people going to church for like spiritual growth. People say look at the church like a hospital for people who are sick and are looking for healing. If there's no assurance that if you do go out to events like that and you meet somebody, it doesn't necessarily mean that he has good character. It could be character in development. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, because it could also be in the process of, I've been a terrible person and I'm just looking to start again.
Do you not
And-
think character in development is still good character?
Oh, that, I mean, in development.
Because
That's,
like if he's actively trying to raise his character,
I know
to
that.
me that says he has good character. If
No.
you see what I mean. You disagree?
I disagree. It's like saying that people in therapy are healed. That's you're in therapy for a reason, and it's
Okay, so I guess it
process.
depends on how you define character then. Because
Yeah.
like when I think of character, I'm thinking of someone who wants to be the best version of themselves.
That's
tries
also
to
that's also
treat people
there,
well.
because it's like being in therapy is like, okay, you understand and you recognize that there is something fundamentally wrong that you need to correct. You've gone to therapy. That would also be the same thing in being in character development class. But maybe I'll relax on that one. Maybe.
Before we go, is there anything you wanted to ask me?
How long have you lived in Birmingham?
So I was born here, but then I lived in London for 10 years. And then the past 5 years, I've been traveling. Yeah, like I lived in Bali for like a year and a half.
Oh, that's nice. I haven't been to Bali. I haven't even been to anywhere in Asia yet.
Yeah, I'm not the tallest person in the world, but when I'm in Asia, I'm quite tall. Like, it's a nice feeling.
So, are you single?
Yep.
And why is that?
I spent about 12 years in relationships I shouldn't have been in, which should have ended well before they did. And then because of that, like, you know, it moved my timeline along. So if we remove those relationships, I'm now back in my early 30s. And by this point, I'm probably married. Then also, it's like every time I've had a relationship end, I've grown massively from it because I always sit down and I say to myself, all right, what did I do to cause this? And what did she do to cause this? What did I do wrong? What did she do wrong? What were the red flags that I should have seen in her that I didn't see? But also, where the hell did I mess up? And how can I learn and grow from this? And I've done that every single time. So I've never had the same relationship twice.
Going back to an ex, no?
Oh, no, when I say the same relationship twice, what I mean is, say, let's say I was with someone who was abusive. I've never like been with someone who's abusive and then been with another person who's abusive. That's what I mean.
Oh, fortunately, yeah. I don't think I've ever been with someone who's abusive.
But it's just an example
Yeah.
of what I mean when I say the same relationship twice. So if I was with someone who was abusive, what I would do is this. So people who are abusive usually leave clues at the beginning. The abuse doesn't start. The man doesn't just start punching you in the face. He reaches a point where he's comfortable doing that. So if I was with an abusive person and then I left them, I would sit down and I'd say, all right, what should I have seen? And then I would spot, you know, the warning signs. And then in future, I would see those warning signs and then I'd move in another direction. So I would never be with an abusive person again, which most people don't do. They just go, this person was abusive.
Does this tie with what I said about getting to know people before getting into relationships with them? Because then you're probably able to identify some things that you would not want to see in a proper relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't disagree with that. But yeah, I can't remember where I was going with this now, but
Oh, yeah, you were saying something about not being in the same relationship 2 times and then...
yeah, it's where did I go wrong? Where did she go wrong? Essentially. And then relationships are a great way of like course correcting as well. So it's like you're in a relationship with one person and then it's like, oh, so I really don't want someone like that. Okay, great. Maybe I want someone like this. And then, that about this person was good, but not really that. And then it's like course correcting. You know, so you start off here and then here and then there and then it gets closer and closer and closer. And there we go.
I think that makes sense because I don't think all relationships that end are bad relationships. They're just relationships that we need to learn from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably a great place to end it. So thank you for you.
Thank you for your invite
Yeah.
and also say nice Prosecco.
It's delicious Prosecco. And thank you to the person who's watching. Like and comment and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts as well.